This is the story about the sheets. My wife Kimmy and I were lounging around TV in our living room around 11 p.m. We had had a particularly busy day, so we decided to retire to the bedroom earlier than we normally would. Kimmy walked down the hallway to our bedroom, while I brought my few dishes I'd been using to the sink and turned off the living room lights. Then, I went to make sure the front door was locked, but I first hit the light switch for the front porch light to turn on. I don't know what made me look out the tall, thin window next to the front door, but for whatever reason this time I did. Reaching over and locking the door, I peeked out onto my now illuminated porch and jumped back a few feet at what I saw. It was a person standing there with a white sheet draped over them. It was like an adult version of the classic kid's Halloween costume, as whoever it was on the porch stood nearly 6 feet tall in my estimate. The person just stood there for a moment, staring back at the house, before turning and heading left down the sidewalk away from my house. Eventually, he got out of my sight. The whole exchange lasted about 4 minutes, most of which was taken up their slow walking. After I was comfortable with the distance placed between them and my house and their continued walking, I decided to go upstairs. Kimmy asked what had taken so long for me to get upstairs, and against my better judgment, I told her what I just transpired downstairs. Naturally, this freaked her out. She was standing next to our window that faced the direction the person had walked a few minutes prior, and she looked out the blinds. "Oh my God," she said in a scared tone, visibly startled. "What? Are they still here?" I asked as I walked around the bed to the window. I looked out and saw there were now 2 of them, both standing on the side of our house, looking up at us. Even under the sheets, I could still tell their heads were tilted back. "Call the cops," I told Kimmy, who I didn't notice was already in the process of doing so. I went to the bedside and grabbed the knife I keep in my drawer, then rushed back to the window. There were now 3 people in white sheets standing there, looking up at us. As Kimmy spoke to the police, I kept my gaze focused on them and noticed them start to gradually sway back and forth. The ghosts leaned over so slightly side to side. I opened my window a crack and yelled out to them, "The flip do you want?" They just kept swaying back and forth, back and forth. "Cops are on the way," Kimmy informed me, while still on the phone with them. What happened next scared me the most. I looked away at Kimmy, and she spoke to me for no longer than a second or two. When I looked back, the 3 ghosts were gone. I let out a sigh mixed with a "what the?" and told Kimmy to follow me. "They're gone now," Kimmy wordily said to the police over the phone. The 2 of us ran downstairs and looked out our windows for the ghosts, but we couldn't find them anywhere. To our relief, there was a police unit about a mile away from the house, and that was able to get us very quickly. We heard his tires screech to a stop and then watched as he shined his spotlight around, looking over the people in sheets. He then got out of his car, quickly walked over to our house with his gun drawn. Then, we got a knock on our door. We opened it and welcomed the police. We welcomed Officer Sitwell inside, then gave him a report. He agreed to stay on our street for the rest of the night, which gave us at least a bit of relief. My biggest worries were what exactly it was they were doing, and why to us. Officer Sitwell reasoned that it was probably just some teenagers playing a prank, and assured us what more than likely we had nothing to worry about. Even so, we barely slept that night and weren't any less worried the next day. The whole thing was just so bizarre. The police kept a unit parked outside our house for the next few nights. For 2 of the 3 nights the police were there, nothing happened. On the 3rd night, I was sitting on the couch watching TV with Kimmy. When she got up to get some water, I heard her open the closet. I heard her open and close the closet, and then I heard a glass shatter. "Oh my God," Kimmy yelped. I jumped off the couch and rushed to see what was going on. When I got to the kitchen, Kimmy was looking out the window that faced our backyard. I joined her gaze and saw 6, maybe 7 of the people in the sheets standing in the backyard, doing their ever so stubble sway back and forth, left and right. As soon as I saw them, I ran through the house to our front door and ran out to the officer sitting outside our houses. Attention. He got out the car, drew his gun, and ran to the backyard after I told him they were there. He told me to get back inside and lock my door, which I did. I then ran back to Kimmy in the kitchen. They just walked away, backwards, into the darkness, Kimmy said. They were gone. We watched as the officer ran to our backyard with his flashlight. Shining in every direction, we watched as he radioed for units to come and patrol the neighborhood in an effort to find them. We watched as he searched the backyards on either side of ours and the backyard of the house behind ours. We watched as he didn't find anyone. The officer walked around our house after his search efforts proved futile. We let him in our house, where he told us that while he didn't find anything, there were other units driving around the surrounding blocks looking for anyone on the streets. After sitting with us for nearly an hour and getting multiple calls over his radio from his fellow officers who hadn't found anything, the officer went back to his car. Morning came with no more sights of people under the sheets. We went about our day as usual, but our anxiety was through the roof. Kimmy insisted we stay in a hotel for a few nights and let the police patrol our neighborhood some more, in hopes the people playing the prank would find a new target and get caught. I too thought a night or 2 away from the house would be good, so I set it up. We got a 2nd floor room at the hotel about 20 minutes away from our house. We had dinner there, spent time in the pool and hot tub, then headed back up to our room to watch a movie and sleep. All was going well until 3:13 a.m. when knocks on the door woke me up. The TV was still on, illuminating the room in a dull hue. At first, I thought I had dreamed the sounds, but I knew they were real when I heard 3 more. Knock, knock, knock. They weren't especially loud, like someone pounding on the door, but rather normal, like someone I'd invite had arrived. It was space between each knock that gave it an eeriness. Knock, knock, knock. I slowly got out of the bed, trying to make as little noise as possible, so as not to wake up Kimmy unless absolutely necessary. I crept over the door, my bare feet making the slightest wisp of noise against the hotel room carpet. Knock, knock, knock. I reached the door and put my eye to the peephole, and my heart sank at what I saw. A group of people with the sheets over them stood just outside our door. Taking up the entire view from the peephole, there must have been at least 6 of them, maybe more, just swaying back and forth. I stepped back from the door, my brain rapidly trying to process of what's going on and what I should do next. Firstly, I swiftly made my way over to wake up Kimmy and told her what was going on. She immediately got her cell phone and called the cops, while I used the hotel room phone and called down to the front desk for them to send up security. I hung up the phone and ran back to the door and peered at the peephole. No one was there. I flung the door open and first looked left. Nothing. I looked right and caught just a glimpse what looked like a sheet dragging the floor around the corner at the end of the hall. I told Kimmy to stay where she was and took off running down the hall. Before she had a chance to respond, I bottled down the hallway as fast as I can go, without a plan of action if I did find what I wanted at the end of it. My first instinct would be to hit whoever it was, remove the sheets and find out. But with six or more of them and one of me, I knew my chances wouldn't be good after that. I got to the end of the hall and turned to the direction I'd seen the sheets go. There was no one there. Nearby was a stairway that led to the exit, which I entered. I heard the door at the bottom to close and ran down to it. I opened the exit door and didn't see anyone. I ran out, looked in all directions, but there was no one. It didn't make any sense to me that 6 people could just show up and vanish the way they did. Then I thought I only saw maybe one of them at the end of the hall, and they had moved from the peephole very quickly. What if they were in a room near ours, where Kimmy was now alone? The door had locked behind me, so I ran around the side of the hotel and entered through the front doors. The hotel clerk said something to me as I sprinted by, but I'm not sure what it was. I ran to the stairs and ascended them, nearly tripping over my own feet. I got to the second floor and ran down to the first hall leading to our room. I turned the corner to the next hall, the one where the room was situated, and was stopped dead in my tracks by 4 of the people with sheets over them, standing side by side across the hallway, blocking my way. "What the flip do you guys want?" I yelled, ready to get to the bottom of the situation. It was then that they began swinging with the little room they had to their left and to the right. "I swear to God I'll kill you if you do anything to her," I warned, which I figured I would do nothing. I was right. Tired of waiting for them to respond and desperately wanting to get to Kimmy, I put all my power behind a front kick, kicking one of them to the ground. I used the gap to run, which was surprised to find they didn't try to stop or pursue me. The one I kicked got up off the ground and rejoined the rest of them in their swinging, only now facing me once again. I got to our rooms and burst through the door, which was held particularly open by a metal side door. I got in the room. As I was locking every lock of the door, Kimmy ran up and hugged me, asking where I'd gone. I told her what just happened, and she informed me the police were on their way. We waited around in our room until the police came, at which point we were escorted downstairs, while another officer checked the security camera footage. Sure enough, 7 people under sheets had existed from a room a few doors down from ours and came to F with us. The hotel clerk checked the registry where it was revealed that of course the room was supposed to be vacant. We were accompanied our night at the hotel for the disturbance and decided to head about an hour west of us to Kimmy's mother's house, a location we both chose because of its vacancy. Kimmy's mom was out of town on vacation for the next 3 nights. Kimmy and I decided we'd stay there until the whole situation blew over, and we agreed that if nothing happened the first night, we should stay there without leaving for at least a few days, so no one could follow us. If they did, somehow find us. To our immense relief, we got through the first 3 nights at the house. It was the fourth night that things began once again. Kimmy and I were sleeping in the guest room, quite comfortably given that we were under the impression that we were away from the strange people under the sheets. At about 3 a.m., I woke up and went to the kitchen to get something to drink. I walked back to the guest room, and in the window next to the bed was the silk swaying back and forth ever so slightly of a person under a sheet. "Kimmy," I yelled, startling her awake. She was facing the window as she slept and let out a scream once she opened her eyes. She quickly rushed out of bed and joined me at the door. I pulled her in my direction as I turned down the hall, but stopped once I saw a swaying person under the sheet, inside the house, at the end of the hall. I then happened to look back into our room, where we both left our cell phones there, and there was now no person outside the window, but standing at the end of the bed, swaying back and forth. We ran down the hallway in the opposite direction, making it to the entrance of the living room, where we were once again stopped at the sight of 3 people under sheets standing within. We turned around to go into the kitchen, where there were 4 more. The 4 in the kitchen began walking towards us. We were trapped, as there was no one at the front door. The 4 in the kitchen backed us into the living room, where we were now surrounded. "What do you want?" I yelled as Kimmy sobbed, expecting some kind of horror she'd never been encountered. "Join us," one of them under the sheets said. What? I asked, confused. "Join us," he repeated. "Join you? In what?" "Instilling the fear you feel right now," he said. What if we don't want to?" I countered, not expecting a positive response. "Those who do not join us do not live to see us depart," he said, with a tone that implied the utmost seriousness. What do we have to do?" Just then, Kimmy gasped as 2 of the people in sheets draped a sheet over each of us. While it wasn't expectedly transparent, I was able to see quite well under the sheet. "What is this?" Kimmy asked. "I think they want us to go scare people with them," I whispered back to her. "It's either that or they kill us." "Oh my God," Kimmy sobbed. "I know. F it. Let's do it. And they want us to do," I said. I saw Kimmy nod her head under the sheet. "Okay," I said, whoever was in charge. "We'll do it. Whatever you want us to do." I felt Kimmy shaking underneath her sheet. "You, come with us," said the group leader. "We will now install your fear into others, and we will grow, and we will keep growing until we become as big as we need to be." "What the F is the purpose?" I yelled, not being able to stand it. "The purpose will be revealed to you in time." "I can't do this. F this," I said as I ripped my sheet off. "You're really going to effing kill us if we don't play as ghosts? F you." I took Kimmy's sheets off her, and she was still sobbing. I wrapped my hands around her to comfort her. "How the F do you even find us to start effing with us?" I asked, not really expecting an answer. "Simple. You were the first to notice our presence," the leader said. The leader of the group started swaying back and forth, and the rest of the group followed soon after. Then, one by one, each of the people under the sheets walked to the front door and left, until Kimmy and I were in her mother's living room alone. The first thing Kimmy did was run to the guest room for her phone and call the police. They came, we gave our report, and we haven't seen the people under the sheets since. It was the most bizarre experience of both mine and Kimmy's life, and we never got a reason for why it happened. All we know is that there is a group out there terrorizing innocent people, scaring them to their core. I don't know what scared me more, what happened, or the fact that it happened for seemingly no reason. All I know is that if I ever see them again, I will be ready.